It's time to go live on another bicycle live stream. Saturday the 24th of April at 7:27 a.m. It's 18 degrees really. It was 14 a minute ago, or 15. Anyway, I've ridden about 38 kilometres, and just let me know how the audio is today, because the last live stream I did, the audio was breaking up a bit. The connector wasn't making a solid connection. And so if there's any issues, let me know, because I can't monitor the audio. Okay, something a little bit different this morning. My Currumbin Valley ghost story. I don't think I've ever mentioned this story on live stream. I think I may have written about it, but never mentioned it on live stream. So why not do something a little bit different? So yesterday, if you haven't seen my Flashback Friday post on Facebook from yesterday, then I recommend that you read it. But basically it talks about moving into a house with my partner at the time. In 1990 we moved into this new house. Anyway, and this is where this ghost story takes place. I lived in that house for 12 years, by the way, so we moved in, and not long after we moved in, and this was a house that was new, by the way, it was 6 months old. Not long after we'd moved in, there were issues started happening relating to water. And this is an important part of this story when it comes to water, okay? So, for instance, we had, things like the washing machine overflowed in the laundry and water went all into the hall and wet all the carpet. We had drains that would block and you couldn't get the water to flow through there. We had taps that wouldn't turn off, and, thing inside and outside the house. We had a few different issues happening with water, and it started to become sort of obvious that there was something going on here. Anyway, around the same time, my partner would go in and have a bath in the main bathroom at night, and she'd be sitting in the bath and sitting there one night in the bath, and she starts hearing a scratching sound, and it's coming from the side of the bath, and it was almost as if somebody was there just scratching the side of the porcelain with their fingernails. It was really quite bizarre, because she called me in and I went in there, and we're both sort of going, what is that? We're sort of looking, trying to figure out how it's coming from the bath. Anyway, when she finished her bath, it stopped, and it started to happen on a semi-regular basis. She'd go in, she'd have a bath, the scratching sound would start when she was in there. Occasionally it'd be a knocking sound as well, and then the scratching sound after a little while would, once she finished her bath, it would stop. Then, got to tell me to stop, got to let this car go. And then it started, after a while, it started following her into the ensuite. So amazing. She'd finish her bath and she'd go in to do some makeup or whatever using the ensuite mirror, and there'd be the scratching sound would follow her in there. And it was like, okay, this is a little bit spooky. And this went on for a period of months. Anyway, it only ever happened when she had a bath, when she got in the bath. No other time did we ever hear it. And it would follow her afterwards into the ensuite. So early one morning, it's about 5 a.m, I'm awake, sitting having an early breakfast, and she's asleep. And I'm in the dining room and I hear the scratching sound start from the bath. And this is the first time that I'd heard the scratching coming from the bath without her being in it. And I thought, okay, we've had enough of this. So I did my best amateur exorcism, and I walked into the bathroom and I said, whoever you are, There is no need for you to be here anymore. It's okay to go. And guess what? It's a true story. The sound stopped, and in the 12 years that I lived there, it never returned, nor did we ever have any more recurring issues with water and blocked drains and overflowing. It stopped. The spirit went away. So that would have been the end of this ghost story, except sometime after that, I'm reading the Gold Coast Bulletin. In those days, we used to read newspapers. It wasn't online. And reading the Bulletin one day, and there's a story. And it wasn't too long afterwards, I think. There's a story about a woman who had been living with her partner in... Harry the Ghost Whisperer, yes. Who had been living with her partner in Burleigh Waters, and she had died. I'll tell you how in a minute. And they could not get enough evidence to charge the partner, but they were suspicious of him or convinced that he'd been responsible for her death. How do you reckon she died? She was found drowned in the bathtub of this place in Burleigh Waters. And the story gets better. I'm not finished yet. In the bathtub of this place in Burleigh Waters. And from a suspected overdose. They suspect that she'd either been given an overdose or she'd overdosed herself. But they suspected the partner was responsible. And she drowned in the bathtub. But here's the even more amazing bit. What do you reckon happened to the partner after that? The partner left the place in Burleigh Waters and moved with a new woman into the house that I started living in for the first 6 months from when it was new. So he was an initial tenant in that house. He moved in, lived there with another partner for 6 months, and then the landlord, who was actually my neighbour and a friend of mine, kicked him out because he wasn't paying his rent. So when I read that story, I just went, holy moly. This is the spirit of the woman who drowned in the bathtub, and she's literally scratching the side of the bathtub. And, you know, sort of, I don't know if she was sending us a message or what, but it was like just amazing. So, yeah, so they never did, as far as I know, they never did actually get the guy for her murder. But she had followed him, her spirit had followed him to the house that I ended up living in for 12 years and remained there when he left to try and sort of communicate with us when we were there. So, and somehow my amateur exorcism worked and I was able to get her to move on. So there you go, there's this morning's true story. Happened in 1990 in Currumbin Valley, the Currumbin Valley Ghost. When did this happen? This one happened in the 80s. This happened prior to moving into that house, so I'll keep this one short. Basically, I was staying on the Sunshine Coast for a night or two in a woman's house, and she was a healer, or at least she claimed to be, and I was actually sleeping this first night in her healing room, which had, I can't remember, it had a few things in it, but it was a little bit cluttered. Anyway, I went to bed in this house, turned the light off, and almost immediately I became aware of what felt like a presence in the room, multiple presences in the room, like a pressure, and they were sort of bearing down on me, almost to the point where I could hear voices as well. And it became more and more disturbing. And at that time, I was heavily into affirmations. So I started doing affirmations. I started saying these affirmations out loud. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. This is, there's what's going on here, and I could hear and feel these presence of these spirits in this room. They were very strong, and there was a lot of pressure coming from them. It got to the point where I could not remain calm. And in a panic, I reached for the light switch, and I'm feeling up and down the wall trying to find the light switch. Finally got the light switch, flicked it on, and instantly, the minute the light came on, instantly the pressure and the voices, everything just stopped. They were just gone. And I went, oh my God. And I went in and I saw her, she was asleep in her room, and I said, and this is the worst pickup line ever, I said, can I sleep in your bed? And so I did. Anyway, that's the end of that story. That's a true story. No names will be revealed with that one. Have a great day. Live vegan and save lives. And Helen says, I love these types of stories, and then you help to go to the light. Have a great day, guys. Ahimsa.